That's better. Hey everybody, I'm your friendly neighborhood director of secondary English language arts in the Office of Instruction and Curriculum at the Oklahoma State Department of Education, Josh Flores, and yeah, I'm still here, and welcome back to school. It's actually, in a month, I will be able to celebrate my 3 years here. I can't believe it either. I've made it this long, but still here, so that's, exciting. And I am excited to kick off this year with some important news if you missed it over the summer because you were out vacationing on your private beaches and in your yachts, whatever teachers do on their vacation. Anyways, want to update you on a couple things and ask a couple favors. So I got the most important at the top here, standards. So as you know, if you remember in the past episodes of the ELAOK Weekly Report, talked about House Bill 3399, and we showed some clips of the legislators asking questions about the bill, arguing for and against it, and making good points about it all. And so what came about it was to support the bill and move forward with creating new Oklahoma standards. So now we have an update on that. If you haven't seen all the action that's been happening all summer long, well, in the quick story, in the spring we put together a team of educators, including classroom teachers, district curriculum coordinators, and university professors from around the state to come together and create new standards from the ground up using lots of research. And it has been fun to go through and share draft 2 of those standards all summer long, including I went out and I talked to Clinton and Edmond, and Deer Creek I was invited out, and draft 3, which should come out hopefully sometime in the next month or so. I'm pretty excited about that. When it does, here's what I'm going to need from you. I need you to go ahead and listen, don't kid yourself. You have fall PD coming up, right? Let's make it super useful and use part of that PD to look at the standards. Have someone in your school be in charge of organizing that session. If you need my help, I'd be happy to help. But get a room full of English teachers together, which is always a party, and look closely at that draft 3 when it's released at your next PD day, at your next PLC meeting, at your next faculty meeting, because I know you got those, and some of you have faculty meetings every single week, so wouldn't it be fun to look at standards during that time? Draft 3 is looking great because we got feedback from Oklahoma teachers, and we want more feedback. We want to have this to be the most polished draft ever before it goes to legislators in the spring. Legislators in the spring. But we can't do that unless you're getting together and meeting and discussing what you like about the standards, what could be improved about the standards, and sending that message our way. There are 8 standards: speaking and listening, reading, writing process, vocab, critical reading and writing skills, language, research, multimodal literacies, and number 8, standard 8, probably my favorite, independent reading and writing. Oh, isn't that nice? So those are the great 8 standards for English language arts that are being proposed in this draft process. Could change, depends on your feedback. I'll also be presenting these standards for some feedback at the Integrating Literacies Conference that I've been talking about a lot in the podcast that we started this summer. It's on September 12th, it's a Saturday. It's going to basically be a party of English teachers taking over the University of Oklahoma. So you can also find out more about the teachers, the educators writing these standards on the podcast, which is, it's my next bullet point. Let me check this off. So, Podcast on Your Plan, it is a passion project I've been wanting to do for a long time. I feel really fortunate in the position I am to travel around the state and have these great conversations with veteran, legendary educators in our state, and just taking in all that brilliance and then sharing it through my presentations. But I needed something more. I wanted to package those conversations in a way that can be shared easily so everyone can benefit from the brilliance. Your brilliance, really. And the podcast has been a perfect venue for that. If you're not familiar with podcasts, it's like radio on demand, but this is like PD on demand because you can listen to an episode and then always come back to it and it'll pick up where you left off. And these discussions I've been having around the state with educators that have let me record the discussions, it's been filled with practical advice for classroom management, writing strategies, reading strategies. We did one recently where we talked about that whole trend of doing away with teaching whole novels in in your curriculum and just using excerpts. That was really fun. Incorporate the Facebook group into that. Talked about crowdfunding versus writing grants. And I've had a few of the writing team members in 3 episodes spread out now. So if you want to get to know the people writing the standards that you're giving your feedback to, check them out. I'll post direct links to those episodes. We did one with 4 writing team members right after Engage OK, where the standards were publicly released, and that was really fun, and got a lot of positive responses. I did a separate episode with Dr. Craig Hill at the University of Oklahoma, and that was also a great episode. Had some of my favorite answers to common questions that I ask in the podcast, like what aspect of education needs to be disrupted. That was a fun episode. Surprising answers in that. And the latest episode, which I think is episode 15, is with Ann Grubb from Tulsa, representing Tulsa and getting to share her philosophy on writing. She gives a really great 4-step process for integrating literacy across curriculum in that episode. Check it out for sure. And if you don't know how to subscribe, well, you go to iTunes Store on your iPod Touch or your iPhone, and you should search for podcast on your plan. It should come right up. And likewise, if you don't have one of those fancy iPhones, you can go to your Android device and check out the Stitcher app, which I haven't found a better app for organizing my podcasts on Android than the Stitcher app. It's on Stitcher. Also search for podcast on your plan. You can subscribe there. And probably the easiest way is just from the ELAOK teachers.com page. You can see the SoundCloud player embedded on each episode with all the different deliverables and extra links for each episode, the show notes, and links to the different guest blogs. And you can play right off your computer, have it going in the background during your planning period, and get some insights and some ideas every day in every episode. So those are 3 ways to listen. I like the SoundCloud player because you can actually comment live on the stream, and I'd love it if people commented, like added their questions or thoughts, what they disagreed with, what they agreed with. So check out Podcast on Your Plan. I'm really excited about that, and maybe you'll be on a future episode because I love talking to teachers. And last but not least, have you heard about this 5th and 8th grade writing test? Like, are you familiar with it? Okay, so we do a state 5th and 8th grade writing test. And this year there's going to be some changes. Just wanted to update you. If you did not get the memo that came out, I think last month is when it came out. Yeah, it's September already. Goodness. Probably the biggest change is that it's going to be field test. All 3 modes are going to be tested. Now, what does that mean exactly? It doesn't mean that every student is going to have to take 3 different tests. They're going to take 1 test, but there could be a group of students. Let's call them Group A, and they'll take 1 field test that's going to be testing narrative mode. And then there's going to be another group of students somewhere, Group B, and let's call them Group B. And they'll take a test that's using the expository mode or informational mode. And then there's going to be another group of students that they'll take the opinion persuasive mode. So that all the modes are going to be tested in some form, but they only take 1 test. And one thing that hasn't changed is it will be passage-based again. And probably the biggest change is that there will be a different rubric, not a new rubric, just a different rubric. It's going to be an older rubric that we've used on state testing before, and it is, hopefully it will alleviate any of the grading problems because it's a tried and tested rubric and it had lots of success in the past, so we're going to go to that. It is not mode specific, it's more general, and so maybe that's better. And it's similar to the rubric that's used in the high school level. Keep that in mind, and I'll repost the memo that went out last month about all these changes. And of course, contact me if you have any questions, and I'll do my best to get you an answer, okay? So that is all on the agenda. Boom. Need to get a hold of me? Hopefully you have my contact information. You can holler at me on Twitter, on Facebook, text me, call me, email me. All avenues that I respond to as quickly as possible. And I can't wait to get that 3rd draft out to you. So go ahead and plan for that in your next school-wide or district-wide PD day to look at those standards and give us that critical feedback that we need, because we can't make it great without you. And until next time, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and take care of your students. I'll see you later.